What's good? It's your girl, Queen Jones, aka Killer Queen T, aka Blackout T, aka, oh my goodness, don't sit over there. Come over here, sit up next to me. Okay, I got a couple of stories I could do. Let me see where we at. Hold on, y'all. Okay, so we on chapter 5 of Herbie Jones, Herbie and Raymond in Paradise. Anything else you want in this lunch? Miss Jones called from the kitchen. She was thankful Herbie didn't go to the fields every day. She simply couldn't afford it. Herbie, she called again. Herbie strode into the kitchen. I was talking to Gus and Spike in the bathroom. Miss Jones was almost afraid to ask who Gus and Spike was, but she did. Spiders? Spiders? We have 2 spiders in the bathroom. Each one has a needle web. I've been reading Charlotte's Web, so I know how much work it is to make one of those things. How long have you 3 been friends? Ever since I bought the book home. I've been noticing corners and ceilings. That's how I found Gus and Spike. Now I know why we don't have flies in our bathroom. Gus and Spike are eating them, sucking their blood and squishing their bodies. Miss Jones smiled. I'm glad you're enjoying the book, dear. I remember reading it myself. It was a favorite. Here, she handed him a large paper bag. There's a can of soda inside, too. I would like to give you some spending money, Herbie, but I can't. I just don't have it. Herbie remembered the $2 from Annabelle's gift. He still had them. No problem, Mom. I have a little change I saved over the past month. You do? She was very impressed. Sure, Herbie said, feeling a little bit guilty. Well, have fun. If you come home from school and I'm a few minutes late, don't worry. I'll be here. I have an interview for a job. No kidding, Mom. What kind? Waitress. Our family just can't get by any longer on one paycheck. Good luck, Mom. Herbie waved goodbye and ran to the corner to meet Raymond. Herbie and Raymond were partners for the field trip, so they sat together on the bus. It was something they looked forward to for a long time. What's an Indian museum? Raymond asked as the bus took off. A place where they keep a bunch of old Indian stuff and never let you touch it, Herbie said, settling back in his bus seat. Did you bring money for souvenirs? Ray asked. Herbie grinned. Remember the $2 for Annabelle's birthday? Ray smiled ear to ear. He remembered. We're rich, Ray. As soon as the school bus pulled into a parking lot, Ray and Herbie both noticed that Burger Paradise was right next to the Indian Museum. Miss Pinkham stood at the front of the bus and reviewed the rules she had discussed earlier. You must stay with the class. I don't want anyone running off. We eat our lunches downstairs in the reading room of the Indian Museum. Please remember to put all of your papers in the garbage. And be on your best manners. You represent Lauren Woods Academy School. What kind of sandwich do you have, Herb? Ray asked as they were getting off the bus. Herbie checked. Peanut butter and jelly. I got cream cheese and olive. Cream cheese and olive? Yeah. Want to try? Are you kidding? As the school entered the museum, Rayford pointed to Burger Paradise. That's where we should have lunch. Sure, Herbie frowned. Keep dreaming. A gray-haired lady with tight curls met the class. She was very friendly. She started them on a tour of the museum by showing them a rich construction of an Adirondack longhouse. What's so long about it? Rayford asked. The gray-haired lady smiled. This is part of what one would look like. Actually, there would be as many as 10 families living together in one longhouse. John Greenweed stepped in front of a display and looked inside the skin flap. 10 families? Man, that must be tough for all those people to live together. I know my dad can't stand my uncle. The gray-haired lady said, uh-huh. Over here we have a fine collection of weights. The Indians used to keep their fishing nets in the water. Margie reached over to touch one. Mustn't touch, the lady said, wagging her finger. Rayford was glad Herbie warned him about museums. An hour later, some of the children were dragging. After the 6th person asked Miss Pinkham what time they were going to have lunch, she suggested they go downstairs and eat. Yeah, it's about that time. When is lunch? Ray looked at Herbie. This is our chance. It won't take us long. Herbie thought about his peanut butter sandwich. Can you buy souvenirs here, Miss Pinkham? He asked. They don't have them here, Herbie. Just postcards. This is a small museum, she replied. Herbie felt the $2 in his pockets. Damn, you gonna go eat for $2? All right, cool. Go ahead. His stomach growled. He pictured a juicy hamburger with melted cheese. It was too tempting. As the class walked down the stairs to the reading room, Herbie and Ray ducked out the door. Since they were at the end of the line, no one noticed. The boys raced across the line and the Burger Paradise parking lot, only a few people in line for hamburgers. It was 11:20 a.m. Herbie was amazed how well Rayford read the chart, wall chart. Cheeseburger, bacon burger, chili dog, fries, Coke, milkshake. Gee, Ray, you know all these words up there? Ray grinned. Easy. What can we get? Herbie looked at the prices. Cheeseburgers was 95 cents. Okay. Let's order 2 cheeseburgers. Yeah. In 2 minutes, the boys had their cheeseburgers. 204, please, the young man announced. Herbie knew he was short 4 cents. We have a problem, right? Not just a money problem, someone said behind him. It was Annabelle. Annabelle, what are you doing here? Herbie shouted. Looking for you. Miss Pinkham sent me this time. Huh? Herbie was very nervous. She sent me to the bus. She thought perhaps you had left something there. Oh, man, we're in big trouble. Herbie wiped some perspiration from his forehead. 204, please, the young man repeated from behind the counter. Herbie turned and whispered to Raymond, do you have 4 pennies? Ray put both of his hands in his side pockets. Just this, he said, holding up a blue button and the burned out fuse. Great, just great, Herbie mumbled as he rubbed his hands through his uncombed hair. The young man who wore a white cap that said Welcome to Paradise was very handsome. 204, please. Annabelle stepped in front of Herbie. Carefully, she opened her cowboy purse, the one with her golden initials, ALH, and counted out 4 cents. What I do, she asked. Thank you, yes. Gee, thanks, Annabelle, Herbie added. He noticed how nicely her reddish-brown hair was, pinned back with 2 barrettes. Don't be trying to be nice to her. They had little pigs painted on them. Let's go, Annabelle urged. Miss Pinkham is concerned about where you are. The 3 of them ran back to the bus. We could say we forgot our jackets and we were cold, Ray suggested as he jumped into a juicy Paradise burger. You got your jacket on, dummy, Herbie said. Annabelle looked up. Miss Pinkham was marching toward the bus. Quick, finish your hamburger, Ray shouted. Herbie gulped it down in 4 bites. Ray finished his in 3. What are you doing out here without permission? Herbie remembered the word permission. Getting our jackets, Ray said with ketchup on both corners of his mouth. I smell melted cheese, Miss Pinkham stated, and hamburgers. Ray started to shake. Annabelle tried not to smile. Herbie cleared his voice. We're sorry, Miss Pinkham. We should never go on to get to Burger Paradise. I'm real sorry. And Herbie was. He knew he was wrong. He should never have left the class. Both boys were informed they would be after school for 1 week, sweeping the class, clapping erasers, washing the blackboards, straightening the bookshelves, washing desktops, and writing I will not leave the class, doing a field trip 100 times to be signed by their parents. Oh, Herbie was very worried about the parents' part. Me too. Hold on. Are you serious? I was about to say, seriously? Is this the last chapter? Ooh. Okay, let's see if we can end this. Chapter 10 of The Little Lame Prince. Did Prince Darlell become a great prince? Was he, though, little more than a boy? The father of his people, as all kings ought to be? Did his reign last long and happy? And what about the principal events of it, as chronicled in the history of No Man's Land? Why, if I was to answer all these questions, I should have to write another book. And I'm tired, children. Tired, as grown-up people sometimes are, though not always with play. Besides, I have a small person belonging to me, who, though she likes extremely to listen to the word-of-mouth story of this book, grumbles much at the writing of it, and has run about the house clapping her hands with joy when Mama told her that it was nearly finished. But it's neither here nor there. I have related as well as I could the history of Prince Darlell. With the history of No Man's Land, I am yet as unacquainted. If anyone knows it, perhaps he or she would kindly write it all down in another book. But mine is done. However, of this I am sure, that Prince Darlell made an excellent king. No one ever does anything less well, not even in the commonest duty of common daily life. For having such a godmother as the little old woman, clothed in gray, whose name is, well, I'll leave you to guess. Nor I think is anyone less good, less capable of both work and enjoyment in afterlife for having been a very have been a little unhappy in his youth, as the prince had been. I cannot take upon myself to say that he was always happy now. Who is? Or that he has no cares. Just show me the person who's quite free from them. But whenever people worried and bothered him, as they did sometimes, with state etiquette and great quabbles and the like setting up themselves and pulling down their neighbors, he would take refuge in the upper room, which looked out on the beautiful mountains, and laying his head on his godmother's shoulder, became calm and at rest, and she helped him out of his difficulty, which now and then occurred. For there never was such a wise old woman. When the people of No Man's Land raised the alarm, as sometimes they did, for what people can exit without a little fault finding, and begin to cry out, "Unhappy is the nation whose king is a child," she would say to him gently, "You are a child. Accept the facts. Be humble, be teachable. Lean upon the wisdom of others till you have gained your own." He did so. He learned how to take advice before attempting to give it, to obey before he could rightfully command. He assembled around him all the good and wise of his kingdom, laid all of his affairs before them, and was guided by their opinions until he was maturely formed his own. This he did sooner than anyone would have imagined who did not know of his godmother and his traveling cloak, two secret blessings, which though many guessed at, nobody quite understood. Nor did they understand why he loved so the little upper room, except that it had been his mother's room, and the window of which, as people remember now, she used to sit for hours watching the beautiful mountains. Out that window he used to fly, not very often. As he grew older, the labors of state prevented the frequent use of his traveling cloak. Still he did use it sometimes, only now it was less for his own pleasure and amusement than to see something or investigate something for the good of the country. But he prized his godmother's gift as dearly as ever. It was a comfort to him in all of his vexations, an enhancement of all his joys. It made him almost forget his lameness, which was never cured. However, the cruel things which had been once forbade of him did not happen. His misfortune was not such a heavy one, after all. It proved to be of much inconvenience, even to himself, than had been feared. A council of sergeants and magneticians invented for him a wonderful pair of crutches, with the help of which, though he never walked easily or gracefully, he did manage to walk so as to be quite independently. Yay! And such was the love his people bore him that they never heard the sound of his crutches on the marble palace floors without a leap of the heart, for they knew that the good was coming to them whenever he approached. Oh! Thus, even though he never walked in processions, never reviewed his troops mounted on a magnificent charger, nor did any of the things which made a show monarch so much appreciated, he was able to perform all the duties and to enjoy a great many of the pleasures of his rank. When he held his levees, not standing but seated on the throne, ingeniously contrived to hide his infirmity, the people thronged to greet him. When he drove out through the city streets, shouts followed him wherever he went. Every countryman brightened as he passed, and his own, perhaps, was the brightest of all. Oh, that's so sweet. First, because accepting his affiliations as inevitable, he took it patiently. Second, because being a brave man, he bore it bravely, trying to forget himself and live out of himself and in and for other people. Therefore, as other people grew to love him so well that I think hundreds of his subjects might have found who were almost ready to die for their poor lame king. Oh, yay! He never gave them a queen. When they implored him to choose one, he replied that his country was his bride, and he desired no other. Oh! But perhaps the real reason was that he shrank from any change, and that no wife in all the world would have been found so perfect, so lovable, so tender to him, and all his weakness as his beautiful old grandmother. Okay, he was in love with his godmother, okay. His 24 other godfathers and godmothers, or as many of them were still alive, crowded around him as soon as he ascended the throne. He was very civil to them all, but adopted none of the names they had given him, keeping to the one by which he had always been known, though it had now almost lost its meaning, for King Dorla was one of the happiest and cheerfulest men alive. He did a good many things, however, unlike most men and most kings, which a little astonished his subjects. First, he pardoned the condemned woman who had been his nurse, and ordained that from henceforth there should be no such thing as punishment of death in no man's land. All capital criminals were to be sent to prenuptial imprisonment in Hopeless Tower, and the plain round about it, where they could do no harm to anyone, and might in time do a little good, as the woman had done. Another surprise he shortly afterward gave the nation. He recalled his uncle's family, who had fled away in terror to another country, and he restored them to all their honors. By and by, he had chosen the eldest son of the eldest cousin, who had been dead a year, and had him educated in the royal palace as the heir to the throne. Yay! This little prince was a quiet, uninstructed boy, so that everyone wondered at the king choosing him when there were so many more. But as he grew into a fine young fellow, good and brave, they agreed that the king had judged more wisely than they. Not a lame prince either, his majesty asserted one day, watching him affectionately, for he was the best runner, the highest leaper, the keenest and most active sportsman in the country. One cannot make oneself, but one can sometimes help a little in the making of someone else. It is well. Yay! This was said not to any of his great lords and ladies, but to a good old lady, his first homely nurse, whom he had sought for far and wide, and at last had found her in a cottage among the beautiful mountains. He had sent for her to visit him once a year, and treated her with great honor until she died. He was equally kind, though somewhat less tender, to his other nurse, who, after receiving her pardon, returned to her native town, and grew into a great lady, and I hoped a good one. But as she was so grand a person near now, any little faults she had did not show. Thus King Dorla's reign passed year after year, long and prosperous. Yay! Whether he was happy as a king, is a question no human can decide. But I think he was, because he had the power of making everyone about him happy. Hold on, y'all. And needed to. And because he was his godmother's godson and could shut himself up with her whenever he liked, in a quiet little room in view of the beautiful mountains, which no one else saw or cared to see. They were too far off, and the city lay so low, but there they were all the time. No change ever came to them, and I think at any day throughout his long reign, the king would sooner have lost his crown than have lost sight of the beautiful mountains. In course of time, when the little prince, his cousin, was grown into a tall young man, capable of all the duties of a man, his majesty did one of the most extraordinary acts ever known, and a sovereign beloved by his people and providence in his reign. He announced that he wished to invest his hair with the royal purple, at any rate for a time, while he himself went away on a distant journey, whither he had long desired to go. Everyone marveled, but no one opposed him. Who could oppose the good king? Who was not a young king now? And besides, the nation had a great amelioration for the young regnant, and possibly a lurking pleasure in the change. So there was a fixed day when all the people whom will hold accustomed in the great square of the capital to see the young prince installed suddenly in his high new duties, undertaking his new vows. Okay. He was a very fine young fellow, tall and straight as a polar tree, with a frank, handsome face, a great deal handsomer than the king's, some people said, but others thought differently. However, as his majesty sat on his throne, with his gray hair falling from underneath his crown, and a few wrinkles showing in spite of his smile. There was something about his countenance that made his people, even while they shouted, regard him with a tenderness mixed with awe. He lifted up his slender hand, slender hand, and there came a silence over a vast crowd immediately. Then he spoke in his own accustomed way, using no grand words, saying what he had to say in the simplest fashion, though with a clearness that struck their ears, like the first song of a bird in the dusk of the morning. My people, I am tired. I want to rest. I have had a long reign and done much work. At least as much as I was able to do. Many might have done it better than I, but none with a better will. Now I leave it to others. I am tired, very tired. Let me go home. There arose a murmur of discontent, none could well tell. Then it died down again, and the assembly listening silently once more. I am not anxious about you, my people. My children, continued the king, you are prosperous and at peace. I leave you in good hands. The prince Reynard would be a fitter king for you than I. No, rose the universal shout, and those who had sometimes found fault with him shouted louder than anybody. But he seemed as if he heard them not. Yes, said he, as soon as the torment had a little subsided, and his voice sounded firm and clear. Some very old people, who boasted of having seen him as a child, declared that his face took a sudden change, and grew as young and sweet as that of a little Prince Doror. Yes, I must go. It is time for me to go. Remember me sometimes, my people, for I've loved you well, and I am going a long way, and I do not think I shall come back any more. He drew a little bundle out of his breast pocket, a bundle that no one had ever seen before. It was small and shabby looking, and tied with many knots, which untied themselves in an instant. With a joyous contentedness, he mumbled over in a few half-intelligible words, then so suddenly that even the nearest to his majesty could not tell how it came about. The king was away, floating right up in the air, upon something, they knew not what, except that it appeared to be safe and pleasant as the wings of a bird. And after him sprang a bird, a dear little lark, rising him hence no one could say, since larks do not usually build their nests on pavements of city squares. But there it was, a real lark, singing far over their heads, louder and clearer and more joyful as it vanished farther into the blue sky. Really? He just disappeared with a lark? Okay, he died. Shading their eyes and straining their ears, the astounded people took it until the whole vision disappeared like a speck in the clouds, the rosy clouds that overhung the blue mountains. King Dorlo was never again beheld or heard of his own country, but the good he had done, these lasted for years and years. He was long missed and deeply mourned, at least so far as anyone could mourn one who gone on such a happy journey. Whither he went or who went with him, it was impossible to say, but I must myself believe that his godmother took him on his traveling cloak to the beautiful mountains. What he did there or where he is now, who can tell? I cannot. But one thing I am quite sure of, that whatever he is happy, he is perfectly happy. And so, when I think of him, am I perfectly happy. Okay. That's the end of that. We about to get up out of here. I'm about to get up out of here. Y'all want to see my outfit? I got time. We got time. Y'all got time. Y'all gotta cut my head off so y'all see my outfit, but that's alright. Y'all like my Tom and Jerry shirt? That's cute. I like it too. Now subscribe to my channel. I showed you my shirt. My Tom and Jerry shirt. Subscribe to my channel. Leave a like. Leave a dislike. Leave a comment. Make it nice. Make it mean. Whatever. Whatever rock your boat. Let it rock your boat. Whatever rock your boat. Let it rock your boat. Rock your. I thought my head was coming in.